It looks like we got everybody, a bunch of people in here already. This is awesome. Thanks for being early, everybody. In the meantime, so there's a couple things. There's a chat going on right now. You can click on the chat if you'd like in the webinar thing, or if you want to go to Facebook. If you want to go to Facebook and just use the Facebook chat to chat between people, it might be easier. I'm going to have both windows open. So it's just a matter of whichever one you prefer. If you want to submit a question, though, it's better to do it in the chat for Zoom because I'm probably going to be monitoring that more closely. Anyway, that's the way this is going to work. In the meantime, how about everybody tell me where you guys are calling in from or where you guys are listening in from, because I'd love to hear. Barry, you're the one who kind of came in first, so I'd like to know where you're coming from. I've seen you around the Facebook group, but I haven't quite. Well, what's up? Jocelyn Marie over on Facebook says, hey, what's up, my man, Jimmy? You know Jocelyn, Jimmy?
I do. She is our wholesale account rep at Vapor Beast.
Oh, Vapor Beast. I'm so glad Vapor Beast is in the family too, man. Jocelyn, thanks for being in the group. So yeah, you like Vapor Beast, I guess, huh?
Yeah, big fan. Especially
big fan.
The customer service is on point.
Yes. She said, sorry, I couldn't watch the first video. Hey, Jocelyn, well, it's just chilling on Facebook Live. If you go back to on our group, you should be able to see the replay. So it should be there if you want to watch it. It was a good interview. And that's how we met. That's how me and Jimmy met. That's why we're here today, because Jimmy is a good guy, and he, I'm sure Jocelyn is aware. Thank you, Jocelyn. We've done some webinars with you guys, but by the way, and it's always been really nice to work with you guys. But Jimmy's just like, I don't know, man. People in the vape industry are the most generous people I've ever met. Jimmy's one of those people, and he just likes to share what he knows. And, he holds some of his cards close to his chest, but he'll share most of the things, and it's great. So we've been connecting over Facebook Messenger recently. It's been good. So Jerry says he's from Lexington, Kentucky, Magic Vapor Shop. You don't need to say that, but I shop at Vapor Beast also. Oops, sorry, I already said it. Charlene from Hayes Vape. What's up, Charlene? I think I've seen you around as well. Thanks for coming. I'm gonna there's like about 40 or 50 people registered, so I just want to give some of those people time to show up. We might start 5 minutes afterwards, but this should be a pretty short one. I mean, it's actually going to be funny. I think you guys will be shocked to see how simple it can be to drive new customers into your shop. I mean, there are some complicated ways you can try, but we're trying to keep it simple because I think simple, it doesn't have to be complicated. And so I don't know, Jimmy, what do you think about this, man? Does customer acquisition have to be complicated?
Not really, no. And I think the simple things that you can keep up with. I mean, I've always said that consistency trumps intensity. I mean, you don't brush your teeth once a month and expect good results. You have to do it every day.
Yep. And you don't do one push-up and run 1 mile and think you can, do a triathlon or something.
Exactly.
So let me see. Oh, I see. I am okay. I thought I was hidden, but I wasn't. Well, I am sort of hidden. Anyway. So I wanted to ask you real quick, because when we were talking last, you really like Simon Sinek.
Yes.
So you recommend Simon Sinek. Tell us about Simon Sinek, and then give us what are some other books that you think are essential for entrepreneurs.
So can you guys hear me better now? Ed was saying that he was having a hard time hearing me.
Well, it's a little it sounds like it's a little bit over gained right now.
Yeah. That's what I'm dealing with. This is kind of a borrowed headset.
I thought it was fine earlier. Maybe if that's fine. I think that sounds pretty good.
Right here where it is now?
Yeah. I think if Ed says that's good with me. It's a little bit higher, but I think it's great. So anyway, so Simon, so you like Simon Sinek. I like Simon Sinek. If anyone knows who Simon Sinek is, just say so in the chat. But what do you like about Simon Sinek? Because his book Start With Why was kind of one of the big catalysts for the success of your two shops, right?
Absolutely, yes. And I'll confess, I've not actually read any of his books. I've just watched probably just hours upon hours of his TED Talks and things like that. And it really does get down to I think my favorite one was the one how leaders inspire action, about how start with why and all of that. And he said that Martin Luther King, he didn't have a plan, he had a dream.
Yeah. And I was actually reading a book called The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. It's a really good book about habit change, and she talks about Martin Luther King in that book as well. And the interesting thing about him is that, this is kind of off topic, but it's I think it goes into how success really happens. Is that he didn't really want to be the leader of the civil rights movement. Like he just kind of he had his vision, and he was kind of like professing that sort of to the people and everything. And he ended up leading the bus boycott that was going down there. And then because of that, that led him into the civil rights movement. And I think what happens when you reach success, certain level of success, you kind of get to people push you into it, but you have to assume it first, right? So he didn't know that's what he was saying to people, but that's really what it was. And it was this higher vision that he had that got people around him to do what they did for him, that made him who he was. And it's like, yeah, like he didn't sit there and say, well, here's how it's going to all go down and plan it out. He just started doing it, and he started feeling it, and it worked. And I think the consistency is really where he got to the level of success that he did, right? So
yeah,
I think that's a super useful point to make. Well, I think let's see how many people we have. We've got 20 people, so that's about just about as many as I'd expect. Maybe a few more. We have a couple more people. So Bill Blowitz, he says, "Oh, thanks for sending over Simon Sinek." I'm going to read Jerry Wayne's real quick. It says, most vapor stores that are making something of themselves work very hard every day. This, I feel, is paramount in life also, but hard work, customer service produces referrals. If you get one smoker, you have the potential to get all their other smoker friends, and so on and so on. That's basically what this is about.
That's exactly what we're talking about today.
Yeah, how do you get those smokers to come into your shop, and not only come into your shop, but keep coming in over and over again? I think we have a simple system, but a repeatable system that involves Google, Yelp, and a really, really, really cool system that Jimmy's going to show us. But we'll get to that in a second. I'm going to get started on the presentation here. So let me share my screen. This is the part where it could go wrong. So let me just make sure I don't screw it up here. Let's see here. How are things over in the shop today, Jimmy?
Good. I was even a little concerned about leaving my employee out there alone, but based off of the camera action, he's doing all right.
Oh, you guys are looking at the camera?
Oh yeah. We've had a few issues with robberies and things like that, so we've got a very robust security system.
Really?
Yeah, nothing too serious though.
All right, let me share my screen. Yeah, that seems to be something that's more and more common, is these people are breaking into vape shops. Okay, so I got that shared. Oops. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we can get started. Oh, wait, so I got to do this now. All right, so Jimmy, tell me if this looks good. Can you see the slides? Hold on a sec.
Yeah, it's loading.
Okay, great. Now I'm on slide 57. All right, see, this is the part. Like I said, here we go. This is the presentation. Thanks everybody for joining. So me and Jimmy put this together. Jimmy and I put this together, mostly from Jimmy's direction, based on the interview that we did last week in the Facebook Live group. And it's called the 3 Proven Customer Acquisition Tactics that are guaranteed to get more customers into your vape shop. That's harder to say than it is to type out. I just realized at this moment. So that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to keep this as short as I can because it's actually not that complicated. You're going to be surprised at how not complicated it is. as always, we ask you to turn off your distractions. It's better for you if you're having like sound problems or like it keeps cutting out to actually just turn off some of the other tabs and everything, because it's going to be helpful for that reason. So we always ask you to do that. Plus, we just want you to pay attention because this stuff is pretty valuable. The goal of this webinar is to make sure that that you see that the customer acquisition doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be complicated, but you do have to have a system in place that scales and is easy to implement and easy to train your other employees to do the same thing. That's the goal of the webinar. And I think we're going to be successful at that, especially with Jimmy's help. If you stay to the end, I do have a special gift for you. It's a download that's called the Customer Avatar Worksheet. It's going to help you get crystal clear on who your customer is and how to reach them. And it helps you kind of create these avatars, as is the title of the worksheet, that kind of lets you speak to who the customer is, who the smoker is, who's that hobbyist person that comes in, who's the old mom that comes in that wants to quit smoking. And doing that exercise is super helpful for you and for your employees. So it's a worksheet that you just fill out. It only takes maybe 20, 30 minutes, and it'll actually help you get crystal clear about vision about who your customer is. So I'll show you how to get a copy of that in a second. What makes this effective? Kind of like what I mentioned earlier, it's simple, man. It's simple, and it's actually really inexpensive. And it's also like proven. Like, this isn't just something that I didn't just read a blog post and go and make this presentation and come up with this stuff with Jimmy. We actually, I talked with Jimmy through it. He's a successful vape shop owner. I'm going to talk about that in a second and let him introduce himself a little bit more. But it's effective because it works. I mean, that's kind of a silly way to say, why is it effective? But it is. It's just effective because it's simple and it works. And then we have an opportunity to learn more because, like I said, I'm going to keep this short, but I want to make sure that we can, if you want to go deeper into this stuff and really, really go into the weeds with it and find out exactly where you sit, because a lot of times we do these presentations, people are like, okay, this is cool, but I don't know how it applies to me. We can find a way to get that to you by giving you, we have a way for you to actually go through that process and say, okay, I know, I understand this, but I don't know where it fits in to where I am in my business. So we have a way for you to help you with that. So that's what's going to happen at the end. I'm going to keep this one short because I think you guys might know who me and Norm are, but maybe you haven't been on a webinar. We found a vape manager. Norm found a vape manager in 2013. We found each other through a podcast interview that he did. Since then, we've educated over 500 vapreneurs through our webinars, through our courses, through a whole bunch of other avenues. We've actually pushed over 100 people through our courses. And I do one-on-one coaching with e-commerce businesses as well. And Noam wrote a book. He writes for Vape Magazine, and we do these webinars a whole bunch of times. And this is us looking dorky down at the California Vaping Company a few years ago. We went and saw them down there, so it was fun. I'm originally from Utah. Norm is originally from Philadelphia, actually. And then he moved to California. I moved to California, and then we met up. So it was a match made in California. Jimmy, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself here.
So, of course, my name is Jimmy Woodley. I've been in the vaping industry since 2013 or so. I started off as just kind of affiliate, helping out other businesses move their products because I believed in it. And that translated very well to when I started working for a vape shop. And I started as just a regular employee when they launched the store. And then within 2 weeks, I was team leader. Within 6 months, store manager of a new location. And then about a year and a half after that, in control of 2 locations. And really I think probably the most interesting thing about our business is that we not always do well. We really struggled for the first year or two of business, and then we hit a critical point where I had more control over the day-to-day operations and the right people involved to make it successful. So I've learned a lot of things over the past 4 years, that what works, what doesn't work, what we've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on, that's just trying to get people to come in. It just doesn't work. And what we're going to be talking about today, I think you guys are going to love it. It's simple, it's cheap, and in my experience, it works.
Yeah, and real quick, if you can share, how bad was it when you got there? I mean, how many customers did you have, and then how many customers do you have now?
So it's interesting that our Mary Esther location, from day one, we've never had a 0 day at either one of our stores. And from day one, people just saw us on the street, started coming in, and we had more of an enthusiast following for the first 2 years. It really surprised us how advanced the people around here were, because we're trying to sell ego setups, and people are coming to the drippers and stuff, and like, what's a dripper?
Yeah.
So remaining humble and learning from the customer really served us well there. But we got a little too focused in on, the latest, the greatest, the new. And when new stuff would drop, we'd have massive sales spikes, do really good numbers. And then when there'd be a drought of new products, it would really stink. And then the Crestview store just suffered from not enough customers, really not very much foot traffic. The people that we get to come in would be great, but not the foot traffic.
Mm-hmm. And you guys are right near some military bases, and so like that,
Oh, yeah.
you thought that might be like we're gonna have all these people, but it didn't necessarily always translate to that.
Right. Yeah, it didn't always necessarily, like the Mary Esther store's right out the back gate of Hurlburt Field. And that's why it just naturally started producing traffic. But some of the stuff that we do the same programs at both locations, and we've seen the effects, where, we could probably survive just off of, people seeing us on the street and walk in, but we're not trying to just survive. We're trying to convert every single smoker into a vapor.
Right. And that's the goal. So you were a typical but awesome story of vaping, pack-a-day smoker, 7 years, no cigarettes since 2012. And by the way, he's super awesome, all-around wholesome dude. I don't think you know that I added that after you.
No, I didn't go back and look at
it. All right. Anyway, I always say this in every webinar. I actually really want you guys to know that I really do respect that you guys took that risk and opened that vape shop. And so I want you to know that I totally am just I have a lot of respect for you if you're a vape shop owner, or if you are taking the reins of a business like Jimmy did too, like if you're a manager. Because these people, you're creating jobs, and you're in this case you're helping smokers quit. And so I actually always try to remind you that I really do respect everybody who's on the webinar. So thanks for being here. And the reason that I say that is to say this is that I don't want you guys to leave any opportunity on the table by not being the best you can be, right? And not knowing some things that you should know, and not learning from other people. That's why you have the Facebook group. That's why we do this stuff. So that's kind of the whole thing. So this is kind of the quick little overview of what we learned from these other webinars that we do. There are a lot of shop owners are struggling with customer acquisition. In fact, if you are, I know you probably might be because you're on this webinar, but maybe you just want to learn and maybe grow, or maybe you have another store and you just want to have a good plan to come ahead. So if you are struggling with customer acquisition, please say like yes in the chat, or say specifically what it is you're struggling with, so that I kind of know what's going on, because I want to get an idea of like, is it because you're struggling and you're here, or is it because like you just want to grow, or what is it expected that like led you to come here? And I want to know what it is you're struggling with exactly, because that's the whole reason we do this stuff. I want to make sure we're hitting the nail on the head. But it's also about consistency, right? So you might bust your ass to get a good customer, and then it's like it's not consistent. They're not coming in. Maybe they're just a hobbyist. They're not really loyal to you. How do you find that customer that's going to be consistent? So it's not just about finding a customer. It's about finding the customer that's going to come in a lot. And so this is the stuff that we're going to go over today. So and too many shops are doing it the hard way. So what is the hard way, right? I call this is kind of the stuff that I come up with. If you're flying blind, you don't have a crystal clear vision of how customers are supposed to come into your shop and what happens when they get there, then you're flying blind, all right? If you're doing it yourself, like a lot of vape shop owners suffer from that. I'm working in my business, not on my business. The classic E-myth dilemma where they feel like they have to do everything. They feel like just this overwhelming sense of like, I don't do this today, then our shop's not going to succeed. And that is not the way that you're going to succeed. You have to release the reins a little bit. And it's hard. It's hard for me personally to do as well. But you cannot feel personally responsible for attracting new customers by yourself. If you don't have the time to really commit to it, then it's just not going to grow beyond you. And that's the goal. It has to grow beyond you for it to be a massive success. And then there's the burn and churn thing where you work hard to get a new customer. Kind of mentioned it. And then they're not loyal. They're constantly, so it's like you're burning and churning new customers. You're constantly fighting that uphill battle. Jimmy, do you have anything to add to this, by the way?
I think you pretty well covered it.
Okay. All right. I don't know if you ever felt like that do-it-yourself thing, because I can hear that quite often.
Yeah. Well, it's a little different in my situation because my job is to work in the business and also on it at the same time. So I kind of have to do both.
Yeah.
But I've got some really great people that are helping me along with a really great staff that have, you delegate things to them, they get it done right.
Yeah, and that's the key, the really great staff, and that's the hardest but the best thing to build up. So, and I talked to one of your staff members, actually. He's a really good guy. So the simpler ways are what working right now. So what are they, right? So before we get into that, I just have 3 important takeaways, right? You have to create a scalable system. All right. Like I said, it has to grow beyond you. So we'll kind of show you the system that's going to bring people in on autopilot, so that you don't have to be constantly worrying about it. You have to understand your customer. That's what the customer avatar worksheet is all about. And you have to use the right tools. And there's really only a few in this case that you actually need, but we'll show you which ones we recommend. All right. So we're going to get into Google and Yelp. I actually don't have any pictures of Google. I'm actually just talking about Yelp, but everything that I'm going to mention here with Yelp is going to apply directly to Google. There's a couple things that, Jimmy, I want you to just kind of like jump in whenever you feel like you want to add something to it. But all these next slides are basically how to build that Yelp page that's going to get people in. Whether or not whatever your feelings are about Yelp, I always tell people, I mean, it doesn't really matter. People are on Yelp. I mean, it's just, why should you care about Yelp? You like it or not, your customers are on Yelp. It's just truth. So you have to be there and you have to meet them where they are, right? And so this is just some stats from Yelp that I pulled from their website. You have 29 million people using the app every day or every month. You've got 64 million people going to the website and using the mobile website. And then you have 77 million people going to the desktop site. So it's just a massive amount of traffic, right? And you can't not afford to have a good Yelp page because I guarantee you someone has seen your Yelp page or your lack of a Yelp page if you don't have one. So that's just kind of like reiterate how important it is. Like I said, like it or not, your customers are on Yelp. 79% of searches on Yelp were done on a mobile device. So people are on their phone. They're probably walking around trying to find something to do or whatever. They're on their phone doing Yelp, right? And they also are reviewing on Yelp, but not necessarily. I'm going to get into why I say that. You have to ask them to review. All right. But they are reviewing. And then this is the number of reviews that they've had since inception. They have 148 million reviews. So people want their opinion heard and they use Yelp to do it. And like it or not, they're reviewing you. They are reviewing you, but they're usually reviewing you in the wrong way. Yeah, if you want the 5-star reviews, you usually have to ask for them. They'll give you the 2-star reviews for free, though. So, and then shopping, which is the category that you guys are in, that we are all in. Shopping is let's see here. There we go. Shopping is the number one category that people review in. Restaurants is second. So, like I said, like it or not, they're going to review if you're not. And then why care about Yelp? I think this is the most important one. The Yelp traffic is super valuable. If you look at the demographics what's the perfect demographic for a vape shop, right, Jimmy? Is it 35 to 54, college educated, $100,000 income? I mean, that's a pretty good customer, right?
So you would think so. And I saw this slide and I actually kind of disagree with it.
Okay.
And the reason being, when you think of the probably 35-year-old college graduate that makes $100,000 a year, they're very likely not a smoker. The people that we find to be smokers, of course, the one that we see all the time is the military. I mean, you go on deployment, somebody else has a dip in or smoking a cigarette. It sucks. Give me one of those too. The other, and it's primarily what we see is people that are a little bit lower on the income. And maybe not the college education. That I don't know that really plays into it a whole lot. And I guess, as a matter of fact, I do know of another shop that's near a college campus, and they do get a lot of college kids. So maybe that's true. But definitely the age thing, I can definitely see the 18 to 34 and the 35 to 54 being really, those are a lot of our customers, but not necessarily the higher income. I don't see them smoking at the same rates. And the college, I think that's probably about right too.
I did suspect. I agree with you too. By the way, this is more of like the sort of like the economic snapshot of what they are. But
right.
and by the way, in the chat, I want to hear people what your demographic is for your shop, if this coincides with it or not. But either way, the age group is key right there. I feel like the age is super useful. I now understand why education wouldn't be that great, not necessarily a good indicator of a good vape customer, because I do know, because of the truth about tobacco propaganda that we always see, that tobacco companies targeted low-income people. Okay, whatever. I don't really believe that, but the point is that it is true that higher income people tend to not smoke as much. But I think it's important to understand who is on Yelp so that you can speak to them when they see you. Regardless, so it's the younger people who are on Yelp, and those can be super valuable customers too. So what makes a good Yelp page? If you got anything to add to this, by the way, Jimmy, I'd love to hear it. But my opinion is this. You have to visualize the experience in your store. You have to provide accurate information. You have to deliver social proof. Social proof is simply reviews. People want to know what they expect inside your shop, and bad reviews simply mean fewer customers from Yelp. Good reviews normally mean more customers from Yelp. It's not hard and fast rule. Clearly, there's plenty of good vape shops that aren't getting a ton of traffic. I mean, that we can find those examples, but if you're going to be there on Yelp, you better have good reviews, because why wouldn't you? But I really think the most important thing when you're optimizing your Yelp page is to visualize the experience, right? I'm going to show you an example of a really good Yelp page that I found for a vape shop. You want to photograph. They have photographs of their store inside and out. They have this guy didn't have a professional selfie, but Jimmy's picture that I showed you in the webinar inspired me to post a professional selfie. But it looked like I think it's good to have a picture of you and your staff. If you have a menu or something that is like, okay, what do they have here? I would photograph that, and then hand checks, and encourage people to post on Yelp. And you want to appear friendly and fun, and write an awesome description, everything like that. What do you have anything to say about Yelp pages, Jimmy?
Yeah, so it might be a good idea if you can screenshot this and just check your own Yelp page against it. A couple kind of key takeaways that I've got is that you want to get as many good reviews, and the people that give you good reviews, ask them for it. You don't want to get into a situation where you're offering a discount if you review on Yelp or something like that. I'm pretty sure that violates their terms of service. But you also don't want to freak out over you get one-star review. I think it just happened to us not that long ago, because the thing is, if you have a lot of really good reviews, they tend to drown out the bad ones, and it creates a more accurate picture of your store. And the photos, I mean, you may be thinking, okay, I've got a Yelp page and I've got photos on there. The best advice I can give you is to update them and keep them up to date, because if I were to search for a vape shop, maybe I'm traveling and I pull up their Google page and they've got a bunch of pictures of Ego pens and CE4 tanks, and I'd be like, maybe I'll go to the other one that's not quite as highly reviewed, that has pictures of, the sort of stuff that I actually use.
Something recent. Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I'm going to show you a couple pictures from this Yelp page. So this is a vapor lot in Houston, Texas. I just kind of found them there. I started looking through the Yelp page, like, man, this is perfect. They're doing exactly right. But mostly what I see is that they have a ton of pictures. And what I noticed for sure, if you look through there, if you go to the Vapor Lot Yelp page and kind of look at what they're doing, I know for sure they're encouraging their customers to take hand checks and pictures of their devices and posting them. That's how they're getting so many reviews. So these are some of the pictures from their Yelp page. My favorite one is this one. I mean, I don't know what they're doing, but I want to go and hang out with those people, and I mean, this is like, I think they said that, like, they have this, they sign the wall at the vape shop, right? And it just looks like they're having a lot of fun, and I think this is a good picture to put up there. You got people putting their hand checks for their devices, whether or not they bought them there or not, it doesn't matter. And you have pictures of inside and outside the store, so that people can get a visual experience and emotional experience of what they're going to expect when they get there. So
that's really important.
Yeah, anything to add there, Jimmy?
Yeah, that's one of the key things. Like, because I shop around for businesses all the time. Whenever I need something done, I'm on Google looking for it. And I'm more of a Google fan than I am Yelp. Mm-hmm. But that's one of the key things I look for is, okay, what does it look like? And do they have pictures that, you kind of want to know what in 2018 people want to know. And I'm sure it's true of all of us as well. When you find a business on Google, you want to know what you're getting yourself into. You don't want to walk into some sort of place that's like a dungeon and kind of scary and intimidating. You want to know, like, okay, what am I going to walk into?
Yeah, and like just a reminder that everything we're talking about with Yelp, you can just replace Yelp with Google and do the same thing on Google. I mean, it's all this, and in fact, Google is more valuable in this sense because more people are using Google, more people just search for a vape shop near me on Google, and the higher rankings that you have, the more pictures that are on your store, all that stuff, it actually helps your ranking, and so
It
Google
absolutely does. Yes.
yeah, Google reviews are more valuable than Yelp reviews. That doesn't mean you should forget about Yelp reviews, but I would focus, if you don't have either, focus on Google first and then do Yelp second. And then switch off between them every other week. Like, hey, we're doing Google reviews this week, asking for Google reviews this week, and then next week ask for Yelp reviews. The point is, I recommend having both.
And you'll get emails if you're set up on both of them. You'll get emails from both of them letting you know how many people interacted with your listing, how many people saw it, and things like that. So you can kind of start to identify what your demographic actually is in terms of how many, because we see like less than 100 people look at us on Yelp, whereas Google's thousands. Yeah. So that's where we kind of focus on making sure we're really squared away is Google.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's exactly a great point, and another reason why Google is definitely more valuable than Yelp. I think, again, this goes to Google as well. Write a great description about you, your history, who you are, right? I mean, people think, oh, my story doesn't matter. It's just a basic story. That's just not true. People want to connect with people. They want to buy it from people they know, like, and trust. And this is the first impression that you get. It's a chance to say something about you and your store. So write a good description, please. And then another thing is accurate information. I mean, it's amazing how many people don't have the hours on their store correct on Google. Like, oh, yeah. I went to a digital marketing conference 2 weeks ago, and I got so sick of the conference that I had to leave, right? And I found this tequila bar because I like tequila, and I walk into the bartender and I got talking to him. He's like, oh yeah, well, we were hoping that you guys would, bring us more traffic. And I told him, like, you guys aren't on Yelp. They weren't even on Yelp. Like, how am I supposed to find you? I'm on Yelp trying to find like some sort of like happy hour or some deal. And they weren't, and it was like a digital marketing conference. Like, these people are on their phones all the time. You're surprised that you don't have traffic from it. Like, you have to be where the customer are, and you have to have good information. And I think that they have like too much information almost, right? Like, yeah. Who cares if they
to expand upon what you just said about the hours, Google will specifically ask you for holidays and things like that. I always love when I'm searching for stuff, it's a holiday, I've got the day off. I always love when I don't have to call the store because I can just look at their Google listing and it says, oh, these are their holiday hours. They're definitely open. I don't have to, have any sort of anxiety about walking up and the business is closed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And also I recommend having some sort of like offer on your Yelp page. Anything is better than nothing. They do 15% off, and that you can have that sent to your phone. There's also another offer that they do too, but here's kind of back to reviews. So I looked at a vape shop near me recently, and they had 2 reviews, and they were both 2-star reviews. And then I looked at this vape shop, and they have 215 5-star reviews. I don't believe, and I find it very hard to believe that the customers that go into the shop are simply just more excited about reviewing this vape shop on Yelp than the other vape shop, right? They're asking for these reviews. Specifically, they're asking for a 5-star review, and they're probably giving them something for it. I guess that does, I don't know what they're giving them, maybe just like a 5% off on the spot or something. But the point is, like, you don't just get 215 5-star reviews by being really awesome. I mean, you could, and you should be really awesome, but the point is they're asking for them, right? So how do you ask for reviews, Jimmy?
Well, of course, you don't want to ask the customer that might be a little irate with you. You don't want to, they're pissed off at you, and you don't want to say, hey, how about you leave me a review on Google?
Yeah.
But when people, and it happens all the time, and I'm certain everybody that is in here has seen it happen, that you help somebody out, they feel like they got really great service, or they come back in a few days later and they're like, man, I haven't had any cigarettes. That person's really excited. Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate all all the nice things you're saying. If you wouldn't mind, it really helps us out if, you could leave us a review on, Google or Yelp, whatever your choice is, or if you're really excited, both, or, add Facebook in there too, if they're just like jumping up and down with excitement. But those are the kind of people that we look for. And I think Google's getting better about this as well, because we're seeing a lot of them just roll in from people that, we might try and look and find them in our system, and we don't, may not be set up in the system, but we're getting all kinds of reviews just from Google's. Like, I'm sure everybody here has seen it. You go into, Home Depot. I just had this happen today. I walked into Home Depot to get a battery, and I walked out, and I was like, "How was your experience at Home Depot?" on my phone as I'm walking out. And I'm like, that, standard.
Right. And so that's the takeaway. So and actually in the chat, I would like to know how many people are actually asking for reviews in their shops. Just say yes or no. I want to know how many people are actually asking for reviews in their shops in the chat. And this is an interesting thing that I actually hadn't seen before today, before I started looking at this. I don't know if you've seen this either, Jimmy, but they had this voucher that you can buy. Spend $30, $20 and get $30 worth of vape of stuff at the shop. And you can buy one for a friend too. Have you ever used anything like this?
I personally haven't, but we pretty constantly get calls from Yelp wanting to. This is something that I believe you have to pay for. Mm-hmm. It's not very expensive. So if you do find that Yelp is very popular in your area, and you set up your page and you start getting people are looking at it, it might not be a bad idea to reach out to Yelp, and they've got stuff that you can pay for to get your ads noticed before other people, and you can add cool things like these little, exactly what this is, the vouchers. You can add those things to your page. And that's a great point, by the way. Yelp is not good for everybody. It just isn't. There are just some places where people don't use Yelp, and that's fine. And if you know that that's not you, then just think that all this stuff can be done on Google. And the way you do this on Google is actually through the Google posts. So you can post a deal on, I don't think you can do a voucher like this necessarily, but you can post a special deal on the Google post. It's like a blog post. And then if you're showing up in the Google searches, that blog post will show up as well. Yep. And that'll definitely set you apart from a lot. I don't see a whole lot of people doing this, and we do it. We try and do it every time we have a sale. We'll post it, of course, to Facebook and Instagram, and we send out the text messages and all that, which we're about to get to. I think that might be the next point, or I think that's the last point.
It's the last point. Yeah, the whole
so we do all that stuff, but then when we put it on Google, we always get hundreds of views on this thing to people that may not have any idea that we exist on Facebook or Instagram. So it's almost like reaching an entirely different demographic that we weren't getting before.
Yeah, and Google really loves these new posts, and they seem to be prioritizing them. And if you're putting posts up and stuff, then they really like you for doing it. All right, this is sort of the secret sauce that Jimmy shared with me the other day, and you're gonna laugh because you're also gonna want to go do it, and you're not gonna laugh because it's silly. You're gonna laugh because it's so simple. So I love this so much. I'm gonna let you kind of take care of this over with Jimmy. Sure. So tell us about this poor man. We've dubbed it the Poor Man's Customer Referral Program. We just made that name a couple of days ago, but tell us how it works.
Yeah, so I think it was last year, January, we decided it was New Year, New Deal, and we wanted to reach as many new people as we possibly could. And we knew, the people that would come in consistently and see all the time, they love us, and they tell us, oh yeah, I tell all my buddies at work about you guys. And I'm like, really? I don't know that I've seen any of them. So we came up with the idea to print business cards. And on the business card, there's a place to write your name. It's got all the store's contact information. And what we do is we offer, there it is. So we offer, if you bring this card back with somebody's name on it, they get a bottle half price, and you either get 25% off of a basic starter kit or also get half off of a bottle. And that's great because it targets not only people that are current vapors, but also people that are thinking, they're smokers, and yeah, I've heard about it, I'm thinking about it. It removes one of those barriers to entry of vaping where they think, well, I might try vaping, but it's expensive. I know on my first starter kit, I spent like $60, 4 or 5 years or 6 years ago now. And I was willing to spend it because I like new things, but somebody that's like, whatever, just my pack a day is fine. When you tell them, hey, look, I could potentially get you to have had your last cigarette for about $20. How's that sound? And they're like, okay, that sounds pretty good. So it allows your regular customers and even anybody that walks in, especially new customers, if somebody has a really great experience, our first reaction is to grab for these cards like, hey, if this worked for you and you had a great experience, take a couple of these cards with you, write your name on them, and it's going to make vaping a whole hell of a lot cheaper for you and your friends.
And how often do you get people to come in with these cards?
Constantly. Because we also tie them in with the third point, which is our reward system. So we don't really see, the nice thing about it is we don't see people just come in one time, get a bottle half off, and then go back to ordering online or go back to whatever shop they're shopping at before, or smoking cigarettes. Because in order to redeem it, you have to set up in our rewards program, which most people are really happy to do once we tell them the benefits of it. But I think we started off with 1,000 cards, and those 1,000 cards lasted, I don't know, maybe a month, and we had handed them all out. And I think we saw something like 10 to 20% of them came back. It was a lot.
Yeah, and then so they had to, the person who was handing out the card had to be in the loyalty program, which is
right.
a secondary benefit of this program. And then the person that comes in with the card also has to sign up for that loyalty program, which is another.
Exactly. And we're not, it's not like an absolutely mandatory thing. Like, no, you can't get it. Yes, the referral must be a new customer. So it's for anybody that if either don't currently shop here or are still smoking. That's the way we describe it to the customers.
Awesome. The least expensive way to attract new customers. So this is just a recap. So you paid $20 for 1,000 of these things, right?
Yes, it costs. So if you just want to get a basic one that's just one side, you can get on Vistaprint. They're always running a sale. Just Google for the latest coupon, and for 1,000 cards, you can get just one side of them. We paid to have the front and the back, which is what you were seeing on that other slide, was the front and back. And that made it about $30. And if you are not savvy with creating good-looking business cards, I actually hired that out to a friend of mine, and I think she charged me like $50 for the design of those cards. But you could get on Fiverr, and that would probably be something that you could get for $5.
Yep. And actually, I got an offer for anybody who wants to book a strategy call with me after this webinar. I'll send you the link. I will design one for you for free. I really will. So you have to book a call. We have to have a chat and everything. But if we do that, I will design something for you that is exactly like what Jimmy has right there. Let me just. I actually wasn't prepared to to post this in the chat here. So let me just get a couple links here going. And this is how you book a call with me. Using the Calendly. So I have some I can do free strategy sessions. Let's see here. Where's the chat? Oh, it's right there. So there's the link to book a call with me. If you book a call with me using that link and we have a 15-minute chat, I will design this for you for free. It's super easy. I'm enough of a designer to do it. So I've said I'm going to do this for you because I think it's such an awesome thing. Let me go back into the presentation. Sorry, I should have been ready for that. But anyway, the other thing that I'm going to go over, the next thing is the loyalty program. So we recommend a loyalty program. Obviously, with what we just described, it depends that you have a loyalty program. So, Jimmy, I'm going to just introduce
I imagine you could probably find a way to do it without it, but then you introduce probably a little bit of complexity and you'll end up with like a Rolodex. If you have a point of sale system or anything like this, that's how I was just kind of answering Mike's questions in chat. If you have anything like a point of sale that tracks your customers or a rewards program that does, that's how we do it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, by the way, I can't see the chat because I'm kind of like full screen right now. So thanks for doing that, Jimmy.
Sure.
But I want to go over just real quick, like why. I mean, first of all, who has a customer loyalty program in the chat? Just say yes, I do in the chat. If you do, I want to know how many people have a customer loyalty program, because it's surprising to me how many people don't. And I think part of it is because they think maybe I'm too small to have one, or like people won't use it, or I don't want to bother people. It's like some like blocks, or maybe they had one and they didn't like it. Like 5 stars, I know, is like kind of on the decline. They're not that great anymore. So if you had 5 stars and you had a bad experience, like I would give it another shot, because there's a lot better tools out there. We're going to show you the one that we recommend. But the numbers about why you should get a rewards program are, I think, pretty obvious, right? You have a 5% to 20% chance of selling to a new prospect, right? Somebody who's never heard of your shop before. You have a 60, 70% chance of selling to an existing customer, right? So the reason I'm bringing up the loyalty program is because people forget. They say, I need more customers. Are you sure? You just need your current customers to come back more often, because that could be considered a new customer, right? If you have a customer who has not come back in like a couple months and you wonder why he hasn't come back, he hasn't given him a reason to. And maybe he likes you, he just doesn't, I don't know, he doesn't need to or whatever. That's a customer that's traffic that you're not getting into your store. And your current customers are your best customers, not these new customers. You don't need this new social media campaign that brings in a bunch of new people that you never heard of. No, you have to remember that your current customers are very important to your business. And it's easy to forget that for some reason, for some people. These are some interesting stats. So, and this kind of goes back to this referral program that we already talked about. People are 4 times more likely to buy a product when it was referred to them by a friend, right? So I don't know how many people, when they bring in a friend, Jimmy, do those people that bring in a card, is like 100% conversion rate or something?
Yeah, very, very rarely do we see if somebody set up in our program, they say, hey, I brought my buddy by to see about a starter kit. And I'm sure pretty much everybody in chat would agree with this. When somebody is brought in by someone that they know and they feel a lot more comfortable with the whole thing, and like, well, my buddy does it, might be okay too. It's almost 100%, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. And then 16% higher lifetime value than a customer acquired through other methods. So when it's referred by a friend, they spend more with you. That's what that means, over their lifetime. And then if you have the 83% of satisfied customers are more than willing to refer to your company to their peers. So if you have a like you said, Jimmy, you mentioned those really excited customers. Those are the people you go with. Hey, listen, we're trying to grow the store. We want to help you quit smoking. Would you be willing to refer? People would be like, oh yeah, for sure. I love you guys. I mean, it's not a hard conversation to have. And then this is my favorite stat. This is from a Harvard Business Review. Increasing customer retention rates by 5% increases profits by up to 95%. And 83% of the customers agree that loyalty programs make them more likely to continue doing business with certain companies. So it's the 5% that leads to 95% growth. And then how do you get there? Well, you got 83% chance that a loyalty program will help you get there, right? So basically, that's how I read this stat, is that you can't afford not to have a loyalty program. That's how I see this. And then this is just kind of generic stuff. I thought this was kind of interesting, right? Why do people sign up for a rewards program? 57% to save money, 37% to see receiving rewards. Well, I thought that was interesting because it's like, don't the rewards save you money?
Right.
So it's like 90% is because they're trying to save money, right? Or receive rewards. I don't know. I put that in there because I thought it was kind of silly. So we talk about TapMango a lot because TapMango is awesome. And TapMango is very vape shop friendly. And TapMango, I think, is the leader that you probably may have never heard of. Who here has TapMango, by the way? Say yes. If you don't have TapMango, tell me what loyalty program you're using right now and if you like it or not. You use TapMango, correct, Jimmy?
Yes, we do.
So tell us why you love it.
So we started off with a punch card, which I'm sure just about everybody has tried, and you'd end up with people punching themselves trying to duplicate our signatures. It didn't track anything. It's just they get lost, they get thrown away, and then let me get a new one. And then you also you look at all the cards you have to buy to keep people up with that. Mm-hmm. And then we switched to 5 stars, and that was doing really well, but they're kind of in their infancy, and I don't know if they're getting better or getting worse. That'll probably depend on who you ask. But we really weren't happy. It wasn't tracking anything. The text messages we were trying to send out weren't reaching people. So we switched then to TapMango. And what we found was it was less expensive. It was far more effective. Mm-hmm. And it gave us a lot more tools and a lot more options to do things like our rewards program. So the way that it works is they have a feature in there that allows us, when somebody brings in, somebody's friend comes in, and that's the whole reason we go by name or phone number on the card. we can punch that into our system and we can issue them a voucher that they can redeem at any point. It never expires. And it basically, as soon as they log into the tablet and they check their points, they'll see a voucher on there that says, hey, 50% off for referral. My buddy must have come in. So they, like, once the person, writes their name and hands the card away, they'll have, they could have a bunch of vouchers saved on there, and they won't, it's on autopilot for them. All they have to do is hand it out. And then it's on autopilot for us because we're in the same boat. And TapMango helps us keep all of that squared away.
You could send that customer a text, right? Say, hey, you got a guy that redeemed your thing. You can come in.
I think so, yeah. And there's a lot of things that because it's like it's kind of like 5 stars where it's got its own little autopilot program where somebody hadn't been in for a while. They're like, hey, come in and get 15% off, or it's their birthday, things like that. You could also set something up for every time a person gets a voucher issued to them, it would shoot them a text. But we try to keep the text message to the amount of text messages people are receiving to us. We try and keep that to a minimum, and we always explain that when we're setting them up. Like, look, it's a pretty no strings attached program. We only text you when it's about really good stuff that you're gonna want to know about. Other than that, we leave you alone because I tell them I'm on the program as well, and I actually send them out. So I'm very mindful of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's super. And, text messages are very much more personal. They get 97% open rates because it's like, most people, they get the open rates mostly because people are like, oh, I can't stand that like alert. I just need to get rid of it. So they open it to get rid of the alert. So that can account for some of the open rates, but people really do. They really do just read their text more often. But yeah, you have to be careful. It's more intimate than an email. It's harder to ignore a text message. But the power of TapMango is just in all this automation, and we can't even get into it all. We could go in for a while, but I think the number one thing that I like about it is that they have that tablet that comes with it. That tablet came for free, I believe, when you sign up for it.
I think we actually had to pay for the tablet, but the tablet was great. So for the longest time, we allowed customers to enter their own information on the tablet. Like, hey, if you want to sign up, just punch your phone number in here. For the customers, that adds a certain level of, okay, I don't just want to read my phone number aloud in this shop filled with people. They can do it that way, or you can set them up on your end. And one other thing, I'm seeing a lot of people chime in chat about what they do for their loyalty rewards and things like that. And I think that's kind of critical as well, because you couldn't just, just because you have a loyalty program doesn't necessarily mean that that's the silver bullet. We have one, and it's, and I think it deserves a webinar of its own, how to kind of set that thing up, because we've tried a lot of different ways of doing it, and we've kind of settled on one. Yeah,
it does. There's a lot of different ways to do it. We do webinars regularly with TapMango, and they share kind of these tactics in depth. But yeah, it's all kind of based on you. But the other thing I like about TapMango is the data that you collect is yours, whereas with 5 stars, it's like it's only in the 5-star ecosystem, right? Isn't it hard to extract from 5-star, or can you?
It wasn't for us, and this may have changed because it's been years, but we were able to get a copy of, and I think we kind of had to fight for it, but we were able to get a copy of basically a CSV sheet with all of our customer information. We were able to load that into TapMango pretty easily. So if you are considering like, okay, maybe our loyalty system isn't working out the best, or it might be time for a change, you can almost seamlessly switch to the new one, because anybody that's created an account in your previous one, as long as you can get that CSV, or basically the Excel file, you can very easily load that into TapMango, and their customer service is excellent. They'll help you the whole.
I can vouch for that, and they integrate with a lot of POS systems. Vend is what you guys use. I know they integrate with Vend. So it's just a great system. I can't stop talking about it. And I have to stop myself because we have to keep going. But I want to get into this customer avatar worksheet. This is the bonus for the webinar for staying here. Thank you. This is basically getting close to the end. We're going to do a Q&A with everything as soon as I can, as soon as I get through these slides. And it's been about 45 minutes, so thanks for sticking around. But the bonus is this customer avatar worksheet. I'm going to go through this really quickly and show you how to redeem it, how to get a copy of it. So you have, in my opinion, there's 2 different types of vape shop customers. There's probably you could probably segment them further and further and further, but it's really hobbyist and then the quit smoking crowd. And then, I put them in the noob crowd because they're kind of newbies, right? For this example, this is the 2 that I'm going to go with, right? And so I kind of said, these guys are the younger guys. They're comfortable with the social media, so you can kind of ask them to do the social media stuff if you want. They're tech savvy, like to build, all that stuff. And they may not be the best customers. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, right? But the quit smoking crowd are, the one that we think are the ones that actually sustain your shop, and then the ones that end up being the best customers, right? And so let's say you wanted to find a way to attract those types of people. And by the way, Jimmy, you can jump in whenever you want, man, on this, because I'd love your input. But so we have this customer avatar worksheet, right? So this is a worksheet for you to go through to actually find the customers that come into your shop, because you might be by a college, kind of like Jimmy said. You might, for him, he's by the military, right? So he would have an avatar that's like the military guy, right? And you'd fill this out, and you kind of go through things like, what are their goals, right? What do they value, right? For the Janet, the cool mom kind of avatar I made, like she wants to quit smoking. She wants to show her family she's committed to quitting smoking. She values family cohesiveness. She values good service and support. She values not feeling like intimidated by going in there, right? She likes Stephen King. I said Stephen King because my mom loves Stephen King, and it's kind of like my mom is like this Janet. Her name's not even Janet, but I just thought most moms probably read Stephen King. I don't know, maybe. She listens to podcasts or radio shows like NPR, right? Martha Stewart, things like that. This isn't necessarily because you're going to go reach out to Martha Stewart and get an advertisement, but it's just to understand who they are as a person, so they might understand what the kind of stuff they're talking about, right? Maybe they're around 40 years old, female, married, 2 kids, right? Maybe they have a job, maybe they don't. Just get an idea of who they are. And I don't just name her Janet because I think it's a funny name. And by the way, I apologize to anybody named Janet. I love the one named Janet. It's a great name. But the reason you name them is so that you can refer to that person, to your customer, to your employees. That's why I prefer, like, hey, when Janet comes in and they know you're talking about the customer avatar, make sure that Janet feels like this. Make sure you offer Janet this. So it's easy to kind of talk to those people like that, right? And you kind of go through what she's challenged with, right? She's tried quitting, right? What are her pain points? Maybe she went to another vape shop and they made her feel dumb for not knowing all this stuff, right? And you do this by your gut instinct, and you also do this by literally asking your customers what some of this stuff, right? Just informally, kind of like interview your customers a little bit, right? And you kind of also think about what are their objections to the sale are going to be, so you can overcome those before they even start happening. And so this is just an exercise you can go through to help with that. I have the Q&A. So I have a way for you to get this. Actually, if you go to Facebook Messenger, if you click on the link here and you go to Facebook Messenger, you can download the customer avatar worksheet, and you can go through it yourself with you and your employees. So it's super helpful, and you can actually start doing that right now. And if you can get a copy of it right away. Even though I told you to turn off Facebook, I'm sure most of you didn't. But if you go click on that link, you go to Facebook Messenger, and you'll get a copy of it all. So I want to talk about the next accelerator that we're doing. So all of this is coming from our desire to basically help business owners like really crush it in the vape industry, because there's a lot of stuff happening right now, and a lot of vape shops are struggling, but a lot of vape shops are doing fine too. But we've identified certain things that certain vape shops don't do so well, and what they can do to turn their shops around. And so that's why we made the accelerator. And so if you liked all the stuff that we talked about in this webinar, we go much deeper into all of them. We go into TapMango a lot deeper. We actually schedule a private session with TapMango to go into all the different features and how to set up a loyalty program. We actually give you templates on things like SMS texting, flows, like, okay, you sign up here. Okay, what should the process be from beginning to end when they get that that first text message and they sign up for your loyalty program? What emails should be sending out? Right? How do you actually use the Google My Business page and the blogs and the Yelp pages and stuff? Like, we go into really much deeper detail into all this stuff. And it's not just another webinar, actually. Like, this is a webinar where I'm kind of speaking at you. We actually have groups. They're small, 10 students, and we all get together and we help each other. So, like, for instance, with Attract, right? We know that 80% of brick and mortar sales start with a web search, right? So if you're not ranking well locally, then you're not getting those people in. So how do you attract more customers? We already went into kind of this today. So this plus more is what we do in the accelerator, right? But then you capture them. So what are the best ways to capture the information, get it into your system so you can remarket to them and get them back, right? So a customer's average value increases by about 50, 60% on a monthly basis if they opt into an SMS marketing list, right? And TapMango has an SMS marketing platform in it. So you can increase your customer's value by 50 to 60% just by having them in your system. But you need to capture them. So how do you do that? So we give you some tools and some tips on doing that for your shop. And then you have to retain them, right? We already went through it. If you increase your customer retention by 5%, they can increase profits by 25 to 95%. That is a super important metric that gets overlooked quite often. All right. So you want to implement a proactive sales system that predicts when a customer will come in rather than just waiting for them to come in, right? So you want to say, hey, we're having this sale. Please come by before this date. Not, I hope they come by before this date, right? Which is surprisingly, it's a very passive way to do your business. Surprisingly, it's not that uncommon. So this is what we go through. We go through a lot on this stuff. And what I want to remind you is that it's not enough to have the information, which is what we've done here. I think we've given you some good information. I hope you really learned some stuff. But what we don't want you to do is think about, okay, I watched this presentation and then I never do anything about it. The accelerator is not about that, right? So I think we've done the best we can to cover everything that kind of like goes into all this stuff. But we can't really go into all of it. So we have this accelerator. It's happening starting next Tuesday. We're going to invite 10 shop owners or managers that would like to join. We limited to 10 because we want to keep it intimate. We want to keep it something that is not going to be overwhelming for other people, that you can actually interact with the other people in the accelerator. And we want to address your individual problems, which is another reason why we keep it at just 10 people, right? And we don't just give you the presentation and say, okay, I hope you go do this, let us know. We actually assign homework, and I expect you to do it. Like, I actually will ask you periodically throughout the week, like, hey, did you do this yet? Do you need help with it? And we have a Slack channel, a private chat channel that will actually help people through it, so they can submit their homework. I can literally give you homework and you submit it, and then we all give you feedback, and then you do it. And so the point is that you don't just have a bunch of presentations that you learn. You actually have something tangible that you walk away with at the end of it that's going to mean something for your business. And this stuff that we talked about today, along with all this other stuff, is going to be all part of it. So the first class starts March 13th. That's Attract. That's literally next Tuesday. The second class is the following week, which is March 20th, which is Capture. And then the third class is the March 27th on Retain. And so the way it works, we do one class a week on Tuesdays. And then throughout the rest of the week, you are chatting with other people in the course. You're emailing us. You're asking us questions. You're doing things that actually move stuff forward. And that's what the point of the accelerator is. So if this sounds like something that you want to join, I would love to have you guys in here. This is a little like some pictures from the last two accelerators we've done. This will be our third accelerator. So it's super awesome. Like, this is literally like the class one. We always take a snapshot on class one. And so as you can see, everyone's talking to each other. Everyone's interacting with each other. It's not just me talking at you. It's us talking to everybody. And like, I always tell them, I learn more from them, from the group, than me and Norm never claim to know everything, right? But we learn from the group, and then we share what we learn with everybody that is part of that, right? So the group think is so powerful, and that's like my favorite part about all this stuff. So, I'm not going to read this whole thing because it's getting late, but we surveyed our customers, our students, and said, what was your understanding of brick and mortar marketing before the accelerator? And she basically says that she didn't know anything, right? She actually, and this person, actually, I can't remember if it's he or she, apologized, but they were working in retail locations as managers, right, for the last 3.5 years. And even though she had all that technical experience doing that, she actually didn't know much about the marketing and the Yelp pages and the Google and the loyalty programs and the meta stuff, the 30,000 foot view type of stuff, right? And there's just some things like email marketing and social media strategies that did not compute and were not part of her daily job, so she didn't understand how they fit into the picture, right? Afterwards, she kind of gives this vision of how she had this overall vision of how it all fits together, right? I mean, there's different cogs in the wheel, and it's all a big gear set, and we're all working together to a common goal. This accelerator helped her realize that you can't just don't just post on Facebook just because you need to post on Facebook today. You need to have a reason that you're posting on Facebook, why and what is and everything, and in what context and ecosystem in the entire marketing funnel are you doing this all? That's the point of it all, is that we try to lay out that vision from 30,000 feet. Why are you here? Why are you marketing? What are you marketing to? That's what the customer avatar worksheet is for. So she kind of describes how that really helped her.
Speaking of which, on that avatar worksheet, there were a few people in the chat that were having trouble finding the link to download it.
Oh, it's supposed to. If you're not on Facebook, that might be why. So thanks, Jimmy. But if you can't, then you can email me, jesse@vapementors.com, and I can send it to you. This is my favorite one. So I said, hey, what if you could describe it in a tweet? And she said, if you're the owner of a marketing manager of a vape shop, I highly recommend checking out the Vape Shop Marketing Accelerator courses offered by the Vape Mentors. The Vape Mentors. The strategies they teach are highly effective in helping your company to reach its greatest potential. I love hearing that type of stuff. It makes me feel so good. We want to do the best we can for all this stuff. And so Damien, who you saw in the first snapshot, he's already, he turned out what he did, and he actually turned it into an SMS messaging campaign. He started seeing results right away. And then Mike, he was having a problem with social media, and not because he didn't know what to do, because it's all about scaling and having processes is one of the things we teach. So he actually came up with this automated social media post that really started helping him, and he's killing it. I love Mike. He's actually going to be on Facebook Live tomorrow with us. We're going to interview him, his experience in the accelerator. And you're going to like Mike because he has grit, man. He's a hustler. That's what I like about Mike. The other thing about the accelerator is if you join, we actually give you a Vape Masters membership. So the Vape Masters Facebook group has anybody who's ever gone through a course from Vape Mentors goes into the Vape Masters Facebook group. So these people are all vape shop owners, e-liquid people that have gone through our training and are trying to build their businesses. And so, for instance, two of our graduates were talking about, hey, have you done any commission sales? Right. Thanks for any feedback. And we had some great discussion about, should you pay commission for your vape shop employees or not? And at what scale would you do that at? Those are the type of discussions that we have in the Vape Masters Facebook group. And it's super awesome. That's my favorite part about this, is like the continuing education, because we can only do so much, and everything changes so often. And that's the other reason why we have these. The other thing you get is we give you these monthly masterminds. So we have anybody who's ever graduated, we also invite them monthly to do these like Zoom meetings where we literally just talk about the problems. There's a hot seat. What are you dealing with right now? What can we help you with? Other people are helping them with their problem. You'll be surprised how many people love helping other people. Even though you think they should be competitors, they don't care. That's why Jimmy's here, because it's like he just wants people. We all have a goal.
That's me.
I know. Like, I mean, I almost was like, Jimmy, are you sure you want to do this? Like, yeah, well, I just want to help, and like, you have to just remind people that people are willing to help if you ask for it. And so the masterminds are super, super awesome. I learned, like I said, I learned from them more than I teach anything. So that's the Vape Masters vision. The coaching is for vape shop owners who are feeling stuck, totally overwhelmed with these topics that we talked about. I know I talk kind of fast, but they're not that difficult, but you just need to work through them. Or you just want to be able to do more reliable customer and revenue predictions, right? I mean, it's not fun to just kind of sit there and wait, right? So we are inviting 10 shop owners. Like I said, you have your individual problems. We do homework, and we have lifetime access to Vape Masters, and we have an invitation to our monthly masterminds as part of that Vape Masters, the Vape Masters Facebook group, and then the masterminds to continue your education. So we normally do $497 per shop owner. Now, because you guys are on this webinar, I have a special discount. We can do $297 until March 10th. So if you click on the link that I'm going to post in the chat, and you click on checkout, you'll be able to pay just $297 and you'll be able to get a spot. It's first come, first serve. So if you don't do this today, you might miss out on the spot. That is available right now. I'll post a link. And for being on the webinar, I want to talk to you on the phone. So if you want to do that, if you want a free, a business card thing, and you're interested in joining the webinar or the accelerator, schedule with me on the Calendly, and I will do a free strategy session with you, and I will help you with some of the stuff that we talked about today. And I just want to know, what are you struggling with? Because we use that to do these trainings. So the link is in the chat. I'll post a link to the sign up page for the Vape, the accelerator. I want to go through with this one thing, and then we'll do the Q&A. How much is one customer worth? So this is I can never stop talking about this customer lifetime value idea because I think it's so useful. And it's just simple concept to understand, but it's the basis of a lot of things, right? What is the average order size that your customer buys you can expect from them? How often will they buy from you with that average order size? And how long will they stay around buying from you in that? What's their life cycle, right? It's hard to say because it's like, well, I have customers that have been with us for 3 years. Well, how do I know what their life cycle is? I don't know. That's that at this point, it's 3 years for your best customers. Some customers will stay around for 3 years. Some customers will be around for like a month, right? So there's an average for all this stuff. And you get a vision of how much a customer is worth for you by doing this and by going through some of the numbers. So a hypothetical customer, right? I mean, $25 per transaction is like pretty typical. Jimmy, am I wrong or right about that? We think $25 is like a pretty good transaction.
Yeah, 25 is probably average for a lot of shops.
And let's just say they come in once a week and they buy their juice, maybe twice a month, most likely, and they stay around for 6 months, right? That's a typical, not even a very good customer, but you're not unhappy about that, right? That's $600 is what that customer is worth for you. So if you make just one customer, if you bring in just one extra customer from what we teach you and all this stuff, well, first of all, I think that's worth it. And secondly, it pays for the investment you make in the course. And so that's why I bring that up, is because people say it's a little expensive. I'm not sure if I have the budget to do that. And I say, if you can only buy one customer with this course, you will make your money back. And I guarantee you'll get more than that. I mean, I can't guarantee that for sure, I guess, but I believe that you'll get more customers than that, and it's pay for itself.
Yeah, we see
so that's the deal
with TapMango and the business card thing. We spent $20 on it, and the very first card, we spent $20 on 1,000 cards. The very first card to come back, we got our money back, and whatever we pay for TapMango on a monthly basis, it's paid for the very first day of the month.
Yeah, and I asked you this question the other day, Jimmy, and you gave me a number that was much, much higher than $600 for your customer lifetime value. Yeah. So there's a certain percentage of customers that will be in the thousands too, and so it averages out to something that is easily paid for by the investment in this. So that's what I wanted to make sure that you guys knew, and I will do the Q&A, and I will post a link to the chat. Jimmy, are you okay to stay around, or do you need to go, or what's going on, man?
Yeah, I can stick around for a little bit.
Okay, because if there's some questions that you saw in the chat that we should address, then I'd love to. And I can stay and answer questions. But did you see anything you wanted to answer?
Somebody just came in with one, actually, Renee. You were saying that you don't carry the latest and greatest mods and kits. All the products on your website are those the exact products carried in store. Number two, what do you do when a customer comes in and asks for, let's say, Vanny Vapes, Maze, or Mesh RDA? It's a great question. So for the most part, yes, our website is very much still in development. I don't feel like the website is a great representation of our stores, just because it's going back to Simon Sinek. It's the what and the how. These are the products that we sell, and we'll sell them to you online. It's not our why. It's not the passion that all of our employees have. So it's not everything that we carry, but it's primarily yes. So we focus on products that are durable products. Then that doesn't just mean if somebody drops it, can I pick it up and use it? It means, is it going to be on the market for more than 1 quarter. I mean, I don't necessarily want to pick up any product that's only going to be around for 3 months and invest in coils and replacement glass or whatever it may be for that. And if somebody comes in and says, hey, do you have the mesh RDA? We'll say, we'll say, no, unfortunately we don't carry that, but can you tell me about it? And if it seems like something that might match up with what a lot of our customers would like, then we'll look at bringing that in for sure. If it's just one person, and you got to be very careful about this. This is what we did back in like 2015 when we were really struggling. Every time one person would come in and ask for something, we would say, okay, yeah, no, get right on ordering that. And then they would leave, and then they might get tired of waiting for us to bring it in, buy it online, and then we're sitting on 10 of them, and they come back in and they're showing us their shiny new mesh RDA, and now we've got 10 of them sitting on the shelf and nobody to sell them to. So that's kind of what we were running into. We're very, very cautious these days about bringing stuff in. We're just, and this is one of the easiest takeaway from this, is to be just as picky with your hardware as you are your e-liquid, because I know every time that phone rings, you're not, oh yeah, no, send me 30 bottles of X, Y, or Z. It's usually, no, you need to send me samples. I need to check this out and make sure that it's, that it's good stuff.
All right. Well, I found out why no one got the links. I was only sending them to you, Jimmy. So
yeah, I'm familiar with them. I don't need them.
So yeah, now they should all be in the chat. I hope to see some activity on those. I'll post them on Facebook as well. Thanks, Bill, for pointing that out. I think you're exactly right, and that's do you guys manufacture e-liquids in-house, Jimmy?
We do not, and that's always been our policy from day one. And it used to really kind of sting back, in 2014 when most of our, if not all of our competitors were making their own liquid. A lot of them still do, and they've even moved into like legitimate manufacturing facilities. And my argument against that, when somebody comes in, well, you guys can mix it up for me right on the spot. Now I can say, well, technically that's illegal. So I've got the FDA to blame for that. But our policy has always been, look, we stick to the retailing and we let the manufacturers do the manufacturing. Because number one, we don't have the space. As you could probably tell, the room I'm in is not very big, and that's about all of the that's about all the room we've got in the back of this place. And I tell them, especially if they're looking for some sort of custom blend or something, I'm like, I might be able to find something close to what you've got. If not, I'd be happy to kind of search around and keep that in mind when I look for another brand to bring in. But in terms of providing a consistently high quality product, because if I were to mix something up, exactly, Jerry, let the juices, like the juice manufacturers make the juice. And that's something else I've told the people. If you try and launch an e-liquid line, it's like starting two businesses at once to run a retail store and a manufacturing site, especially with what the FDA is requiring for compliance. But that's what we tell customers is it's consistent. It's always the same flavor. You're not going to have one of my employees make it if I'm gone. They may have loved it when I made it, but then say I'm at a different store and one of my employees makes it, and it doesn't have time to steep. He might get an extra couple drops of a certain concentrate that's really powerful, and all of a sudden they hate it and they'll never buy that flavor again. So that's kind of my argument against making your own liquids. It doesn't mean that there aren't shops out there that are wildly successful. How many flavors do you carry in from 0 to 12 nic? And do you offer nic salts or more higher free-base nics? So we don't currently carry nicotine salt. I'm kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting to see how that pans out, because my thought process is that I don't want to pick up an entire line or 3 lines of liquid that can only be used with very specific devices. On top of that, my personal experience with nic salts has not been very positive. As you guys may have noticed, I am a mouth-to-lung vapor. Got a little Zenith tank on here that I absolutely love. And I can't load it up with nic salts and be completely satisfied throughout the day. I prefer 12 nicotine, which goes back to your first question. We carry a very wide variety of stuff compared to a lot of other shops. This is just from what I'm hearing. Compared to a lot of shops, we carry a lot of higher nicotine stuff. That's crazy. 80% of this guy's Michael's business is nic salt and high nic now.
Can you guys give me the noob version of Nick Salts? I still have not figured out what they are.
I don't completely understand it myself, to be completely honest. But from what I
Okay.
understand, one of my employees is like an expert. He like does so much research on it. But basically, you can vape a higher nicotine strength than what might normally be possible, and not have it be so harsh. Like you can like, and it's what's in the jewel. They put like a 50 nicotine in the jewel, and it's primarily used in pod systems, or mouth to lung tanks. My experience with it's just been kind of negative. I don't like the type of throat hit that it provides. That's more of a personal thing.
What I mean, you gotta really like that nicotine. I mean, geez, like I I can't believe that. Why is it called salt? Is it literally salt? Like,
It's about how it's made, and so I'm not really doing it no justice because yeah, Norm would. I'm probably not the person to talk about Nick Salt. That's just my general understanding of it. I can
oh,
say though, the Sworn Drop, I have tried that with Nick Salts, and the I did like the drop. That's a good little unit.
Norm, I'm gonna bring you on, man. You can talk about Nick Salts. Um, I don't know. How do you feeling, Jimmy? You have to close the shop right now, or?
No, we're still open for another hour.
Oh,
Looks
great.
like my employee's out there cleaning, so I'm very happy to continue.
Oh yeah, yeah. We'll keep you busy, right? Keep you away from that
Yeah.
that stick.
As far as offering samples, what we do, we have eliminated our tester bar, which that might surprise a lot of people. We used to have, tanks set out, filled up with zero nic liquid and a mod available for them to use, and we have eliminated it effective like 6 months ago. It's been gone quite a while. And what we find is that people would have a negative experience with a flavor that they would have otherwise loved on the tester bar. So when we explain that to them and that we have all the bottles available for them to smell, or if they want to, they can even put a drop on their knuckle and lick it. That seems to be good enough. And we build a good enough rapport with our customers that usually they'll just take our opinion. And something else I actually picked up from Vape Mentors is we started doing a top 10 list. We've got like a whiteboard with dry erase markers, and we put our top 10 up on this thing, and it's very easy to just point to that and look, we sell tons of this stuff. So
I
it's kind of the customer being the advocate and making the suggestion rather than the employee.
I think we mentioned that on one of our Vibe webinars, right? Or I can't remember where we mentioned that, but wow, that's cool. Because it just takes the way, like, everyone's so biased, like, oh, I like this, but that's not so good for everybody,
Right.
the customer. If you get, well, that's our top seller, and that's that social proof. It goes back to the Yelp page, actually. Social proof is so powerful. So that's cool that it works. Norm, did you want to address Nick Salts?
Yeah, I'm only going to take a moment because obviously this is going long, but I want to also thank you, Jimmy, for your time in doing this. Jimmy has
Sure.
been very generous. We did a radio interview last week, and now he's doing this. And Jesse, I think you and he did a great job putting awesome content together. Just very briefly, the Nick Salt thing, I don't believe is a fad. I see a lot of comments out there, and I think that, along with CBD, is a very controversial subject. I have been to lots of shows, and there are some shops and some manufacturers that are basically saying they're going to phase out their regular lines. It's called salts because of the way it is refined, and it is much, much stronger. And, you can vape 50, you can vape 40, you can vape very, very high percentages of nicotine, and you're using very, very, very low wattage. So that's why the packs, and that's why the Switzer, I believe it's called, the very thin thing that looks like a small little pod. That's why they're so popular, because they're so discreet. You can literally hold it in your hand. That's about how much room it takes up. And they're almost all closed pod systems, although there are some, obviously open pod systems as well. But all indications are that they are here to stay. It is controversial. There are a lot of pundits out there who think that it's bad for you, but there's a lot of people out there who think CBD is bad for you, and that's actually just the opposite, because I've been researching that market now for over 3 years, and we're getting involved in it ourselves. So that's the short story on Nick Salts. But for those of you who aren't carrying it, you might want to consider it, because it is a profit center, and unless you are morally opposed to it, don't get freaked out because of the high nicotine, because again, it's the mouth to lung hit. that really appeals to people. Maybe that's what has worked for you, Jimmy, when you tried it, because it actually almost replicates what a cigarette does, for better or for worse, but still eliminates the carcinogens, and that's what vaping is all about, is eliminating the carcinogens.
Yeah. I just it just personally wasn't for me, and that's not to say that it won't work for everybody else. I just, for whatever reason, tend to prefer just a standard 12 nicotine. I've tried 25, 30, and 50, and it satisfies my nicotine cravings, but I just don't like the way that it feels.
Yeah. And that's, it's facing, vaping is so individualized. That's why it is.
And that's what we're looking into, is trying to do good research and, have more people test it and gather a lot of feedback before we dip our toe into this pond.
Yeah. Well, like every business owner out there, and all of you who are participating, and thank you so much for doing that. You have the full right and ability to do your business as you see right. And that's why you attend these things, and that's why you go to other trainings, because you gather all the information, you gather the data, and then you figure out what works for you, what doesn't, what you're not morally opposed to. And the reality of it is that we have something to do, and that is we have to supply what the customer wants. And, I've said for years as a trainer, you don't sell what you got, you sell what people want to buy. And you don't always agree with it. There's a lot of bartenders that are teetotalers and they don't drink, but yet they sell lots of alcohol. So that's the reality of it, is that you just have to draw that moralistic line in the sand and decide, whether you can erase it or not.
Yeah. We can take maybe a couple more questions. Do you order bulk from manufacturers or smaller quantities from distributors?
Yeah, I've got time to answer that one, and then I do have to run. So we do order from one manufacturer, and what we try and do is identify the manufacturers we do a lot of business with. We carry tons and tons of Innikin products because we believe in them. All of our employees believe in them, and when you believe in something, it's a whole lot easier to sell it than if you hate it. Like Norm said, there's a lot of there might be people that don't drink that are bartenders, but you might find an alcoholic is better at selling alcohol than somebody that really just doesn't like alcohol. So we've identified, Innikin. That's one that we order direct from, and they're great. Their shipping is super fast, and our sales rep is really good with English and respectful of when I go to sleep. Not all of them may be that way, from what I hear, but primarily we order directly from U.S.-based wholesalers, and just for shipping times and the cost of shipping and stuff like that, it makes way more sense to do it that way.
Cool. Well, I just want to remind everyone, thanks so much, Jimmy. You can take off if you want. We're going to end the webinar. The offer that the $200 off the accelerator is ending on the 10th. You'll be getting some emails about it. I really hope you guys can join. It's going to be a really, really great session. Jimmy, I think you're going to try to make a couple of them possibly, if you can.
Yeah. As long as the scheduling, works out, because I do have a couple shops to run, but as long as scheduling works out, then I can definitely would be more than happy to jump in there. I've really enjoyed this, and thanks for bringing me on again.
Just before you leave, I want to mention something about the accelerator, because look, I've been a trainer for a long time and a consultant for a long time as well, and here's what's interesting is that business is easy, but it's not simple. And the reality of it is that when we were introduced to our partners in this venture, I thought, what are they going to bring to the table that we don't already know? Because Jesse and I know a lot of stuff, and he knows far more than me when it comes to online selling and e-marketing and the technology and social media aspect of it. But surprisingly, and I'm not surprised anymore, I'm just absolutely blessed that we were actually able to team up with Meredith and Jasper. These guys bring a whole level of things that it's not rocket science, and that's what's so irritating to me, is that sometimes we think we know it all, and I don't know it all, and hell, I've been doing this for 40 years, that I still have so much more to learn, and I've forgotten a lot already. But sometimes it's simple business that you just need to be reminded of, and maybe it's going to be brand new to you, or maybe it's going to be a reminder like, oh yeah, I forgot, someone told me to do that. Oh yeah, I used to do that a long time ago, and I kind of got out of the habit. So sometimes we fall out of those good business practices that we just need to be reminded of. So again, I love the training program that Jesse put together with these guys. And again, small groups, no more than 10. And it's going to be our third one. And as Jesse mentioned earlier, we're going to be personalizing them to different aspects, e-liquid, online marketing, social media, what have you. So, if you like what we do here at Vape Mentors, and we've been doing this for 5 years now, so we hopefully got our shit together by now, then we would love to have you be part of the program.
Thanks, Norm. I appreciate it. That's exactly what I was going to say, but you said it better. Yeah, just please schedule those calls with me. Get the avatar worksheet. It takes you to Facebook Messenger, and then you kind of just have to go through the prompts to get the link. So that's maybe why people are asking, it's not working. And then the accelerator, like I said, Norm said, there's only 10 seats available. First come, first serve. The $200 discount ends on the 10th. So we hope to see you guys there, and that's going to be the end of it, man. So thanks so much.
Thanks again, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.